What's up? Well, it is time for another comments corner here on Total OS today. So this one, boy, a lot of comments, and it's why Windows users can't switch to Linux. Perhaps I should have entitled this "Why Some Windows Users Can't Switch to Linux." A lot of stuff here. All the comments, most of the comments, you certainly have your passionate feelings about the subject. I can't read all of them. There are over 300 of these. Let me just pick out some at random, and I'm sorry I can't read every single one. It would just take too long. But let me just go through some of these, and I'll comment on some of your comments. Okay, why Windows users can't switch to Linux? Because Linux sucks. That is a broad, generalized statement that I don't agree with. Now you can say maybe some Linux sucks, or some Linux distributions which aren't fully tested may not be for a production machine. I guess you can say that, but that is just a too broad a statement for me to agree with. All right, Linux is a kernel, not an OS. True, I sometimes will call something a Linux OS just for the new beginners to make it easy, but true, Linux is the way I describe it for newbies is Linux is a bridge. To the left side of the bridge you have the hardware. On the right side of the bridge you have the software, and the kernel joins the two. All right. Windows is for noobs and people who want to be slaves of Microsoft. Seriously, do you know, people, how many ports open on your system to be hacked? Linux is a bit tough for some people, but it gives you control. Some Linux can be tough for some people. There are some distributions out there that are newbie friendly, such as Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Zorn, and maybe a few others. But for myself, I like to dual boot. I don't think that necessarily makes me a slave to anybody, but Windows is easy to use. And then you go on saying that, but I also agree that you have to have Windows for gaming because most proprietary companies don't find it profitable to make games for Linux as yet. That may change with the Steam client coming to Linux. So for now, maybe Windows is better for gaming, as I've said in the past, but that may change. Okay. Oh, let's see here. What else do we have? There was a discussion here, and I'm sorry I'm going through these, but there are a lot of comments here. One of the main reasons I find is that most average computer users that I encounter have never heard of Linux. They're brainwashed into thinking outside of Windows and Apple there is nothing else. They don't even realize that Android is an operating system. Well, I don't know about brainwash. Maybe it's just a matter of them getting started somewhere with the information. And that's what I try to do. I try to tell beginners who may have heard of Linux, may have never heard of Linux, have heard of it, don't know how it works. That's what I do, just to tell people, hey, if you're running specifically an operating system such as only Windows or whatever, there are choices out there, and you may want to take a look. Windows 8 is like a pair of fish with a bicycle. That doesn't sound too good. All right, let's scroll down some more here and see what we have. Let's see. Maintenance time is important to me, as in the UI of an OS. Both have been excellent in my use of Linux, especially in elementary or OS, which I use now. Isn't elementary OS still in beta though? And it's my main reason for staying. On the other hand, I've spent way too much time on maintaining Vista and Windows 8, just as unusable UI, unusable to me. Well, if you could be more specific, if you hear this video, watch this video, what do you mean exactly by unusable? Okay, let's see. Why? Lack of the best proprietary industry standard software, lack of drivers, or worse, buggy drivers, losing a lot of time on the terminal to make things work and not always succeeding in the end, updates that break apps, or installing apps that, okay, watch the profanity, guys. This is a family channel. You can toss me all the negative comments you want if you wish. I hope not, but please no profanity. I'll read this, but then I'll have to remove it. But you can repost this if you like, okay? Apps that blank up the whole distro. Check out Ubuntu Forum as an example in the issues users have. Windows users don't even have to deal with a lot of this blankety blank. Well, that's why, as far as Linux goes, I stick with the LTS releases. They tend to be less buggy. Yes, some updates may break your system. I don't believe that's happened to me in Ubuntu 12.04. Yes, some uh, stuff drivers can be buggy. Some video drivers for me in the past haven't worked out, but I just delete them, and if I have to reinstall Linux, that's okay. I don't have an issue with that. I still enjoy dual booting. Um, Now that I've read this, thank you for posting, but please watch the profanity. This I can't catch everything that is posted, but I will have to remove it. But you're welcome to repost this. Okay. All right. Let's see here. I hate Linux because of the terminal. I had problems to get my HD 6670 to work. I lost a lot of time just to make it work. I'm assuming you're saying you've got to be a programmer. Well, you don't always have to use the terminal when you say you hate Linux because of the terminal. Which Linux distributions is you have trouble with? Is it some of them? Is it all of them? Is it most of them? You have lots of choices. That's one of the nice things about Linux. Okay, let me scroll down here some more. Let's see. Let's see. There was a long conversation here between two of you guys that kind of got my attention. If I can find it, let me see. Maybe it was on the other video. It may have been in the other one, which I will do a comments corner on that. Okay, wow, almost 9 minutes of talking, and what do you offer to back up your bold claim that Windows users can't switch to Linux? Again, perhaps I should have restated it. Some Windows users can't switch to Linux. To paraphrase you, GNU Linux can be forked at a whim, so there is no quality control. I stick with that. This is such a silly argument that I find it hard to take it seriously. Well, here's the thing. How many Linux distributions are there, and its offshoots and its forks? Hundreds? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Can they be all that high quality? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe you guys can let me know. All right, let's scroll down some more here. All right, Ubuntu is for people who want an easy to use and free alternative to Windows. It's not about having power over your desktop or unleashing some hidden potential coder inside you. It's about being able to load a free OS with free apps that just work. Sometimes Ubuntu provides that and sometimes it doesn't. Fair enough. Our culture thrives on simple, convenience-based products with premium pricing. Okay, so anything that requires tons of coding effort is a failure to invade that space. Ubuntu is doing well. Yeah, Ubuntu is doing very well. At least for me, it's my desktop. It's my Linux distribution of choice on my desktop. But we definitely live on a convenience-based society where we want something to work and we want it to work now. And there's anything really wrong with that. Okay, what else do we have here? Once again, thank you for all the comments, even the negative ones. Feel free to post what you must. Just watch the profanity, and I'm sure I may have missed some other profane words here. I try to watch over this, and I try not to lock anybody out. But all right, let's move on here. All right, TOS, an awful lot has been centered on the software, but what about the hardware? I can now buy a PC at a ridiculous cost. It's true. So if I was buying a PC, what should I look for? I know myself, but for others it may not be so obvious. For instance, video and sound drivers are very important. Yeah, I think I did a podcast on this with excuse me, Twill. Sorry, this week in Linux, Twill, and he gave some very good advice. One of the pieces of advice would be to check on the Ubuntu hardware compatibility list on their website to see what exactly would work the best when you're searching for a computer that will run Linux pretty much out of the box. I did post a question here: is the Linux desktop now extinct? Meaning, there has been very little success or talk about mainstream Linux desktop, and of course, does it really matter anymore? Okay. I kind of like this one. Linux is only free of charge if your time has no value. Well, obviously, my time, I'm sure many of you, your time has value. You know, as far as trying to break something in Linux and trying to figure it out, I give myself a self-imposed limit of an hour, and that's, of course, that's the same in Windows. An example is trying to figure out video drivers. If it takes me more than an hour for myself, strictly for myself, it's not worth it. Move on. All right, what else we have here? Um, Let's see. Here are my problems with Linux. I can't use the most basic applications that I run under Windows. Want to watch Netflix? You have to download 300 megabytes of software to emulate Windows, and it doesn't work flawlessly. Evernote, no app for Linux. I thought there was something for Linux for that. Maybe not. Accounting software, again, no decent software. I love the speed and usability of the OS, but it's worthless if you can't actually work with it. Well, it's true that if you need very specific software that you can't live without in Windows, then you, like what I do, I just dual boot. I have the best of both worlds, as somebody said. So yes, if you definitely have to use specific, pieces of software that you can't live without, then you definitely have to keep running Windows, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, maybe a few more. Okay, again, watch the profanity, guys. Bleep Microsoft, EA. Yes, without a doubt, the present moment, most Linux are crappy, but for long, with software like Unity, Blender, power users with gaming PC, such as myself, are beginning to take over. Well, I think it's great it's working out for you. Again, I have to remove this. Feel free to repost if you have to. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, I tried Gentoo. Never looked at Linux the same way. Then I say Sabayon, Gentoo based Linux distros for beginners, WTF. I don't think Gentoo is for beginners, is it? If you like Ubuntu, then try Sabayon. Unlike Ubuntu, Sabayon comes with a lot of drivers for graphics, including the VirtualBox guest editions. Cool. All right. What I would probably do, I need to look at the other. I'll do another comments corner soon on one of the other videos I did. I think that was the one. That was the one I was originally talking about. But I wanted to get this one out of the way. Let's see here. Haha, Windows the standard. The standard of what? I guess you don't like Windows, but that's okay. How to bamboozle the world? Okay. I bought a brand new desktop last year with Windows 7 loaded on it. It would regularly crash and randomly reboot. I wiped it clean of Windows and installed Mint 13. I've been running nothing but Mint 13. I like Mint 13, by the way. I have it on one of my ThinkPads, and for me, it's pretty good. I think I replied, yeah, you bought a new PC and kept it. I mean, if I bought a new PC and it didn't work out of the box, it seems to me that the PC would somehow be defective. And I think the reply was, the PC works fine, the Windows was defective. Well, I still would have taken it back, but I think you're right here, started crashing about 2 months later. Well, I mean, was it malware? Obviously something broke. Yes, and the malware was called Windows 7. I like that. Cool. All right, let's see. All right, two more, then I'll wrap this one up. I can't completely switch my Windows-based Media Center PC to Linux because there's no guarantee that once I switch over to Linux that the next release of the Linux kernel or the next release of my chosen distro would continue to support my hardware. Possible. The same goes for whenever Mesa is involved, which is all the time. An Intel integrated graphics chipset might work well for a year under Linux now, but when the next version of Mesa comes out, you could just as easily be crap out of luck. Yeah, I suppose that's possible. I don't know what the solution is for this. It basically, maybe if you have a test machine and then try the latest distribution, your favorite one, and see what happens. Or like myself, I just dual boot when I'm ready for the next LTS release, back up my Windows 7, and That's, in fact, that was my solution, dual boot solution still. But that's probably the best solution I have to that issue there. All right, I think that'll be the last one for this. The next one I'll do it on is probably going to be that the Ubuntu 13.04 versus Windows. I think that's the other one I was thinking about. But thank you so much for these comments here, both positive and negative. You are welcome to post your feelings about this. Just no profanity, please. That's all I ask. That's it for this. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And as always, I will catch all of you sometime in the future.